today we have the part of the process where if you've been following what we've been doing so far, you will have audited some companies using an infrastructure audit or it's an architecture audit. And it's very simple. It should take you 20 minutes for companies that you know. It's okay if you haven't done it yet. Do one this week to use with what we're going to talk about, and that is come in and have your infrastructure audit done by an engineer or do it yourself. And then we're going to implement, we're going to show you how to use that to have a better conversation with your QBR. So you walk in with a QBR and you just say you're going to have a conversation. It's one problem. If you walk in and have a QBR and say, hey, we have some stuff we want to show you that about your environment and a way to improve your business, that's a completely different conversation. So I kind of asked Skip if he would talk a little bit or maybe show you guys a little bit about how do you take the infrastructure audit and the results from that and create a meaningful conversation. So take it away, Skip.
All right. So
sorry. But at the end, I'm going to show you guys how to use the new project feature in MSPL that just came out. So it's a teaser for if you stay on the call through. If you make it through Skip, the reward is to know how the new project tool works.
There we go.
Go ahead, Skip.
All right. Oh, well, what a great handoff. So I'll make it easy for you guys to stick around and get the project stuff. So I've seen some of that, and I'm very interested in that. So I want us to cover that. So without jumping into a bunch of details, because I'm looking over the list of those that are on the call, and I'm sure those that watch later can dive into the resources. So I won't turn this into a how-to guide, but conceptually, the things that you really need to keep in mind is as you go through and as you do the assessment, you're going to generate a project. Okay. And if for some reason you have modified a template or something, you don't have projects listed there, you need to have that. All right. That needs to be a key element is you have a predefined project to associate with every gap in the assessment. So as you do that, again, this goes back to what fundamentally we're trying to do. Are we trying to just sell projects? I mean, that's the great benefit to our bank account, but we all know just selling projects is not what's necessarily good for your clients, and in return is not going to be good for you. What we really want to do is we want to manage these gaps. We've identified where they need to be and where they currently are, and closing that gap is in everyone's best interest. So to close that gap, we need a defined project. So a little bit of a soapbox there because I've seen several project templates along the way where someone sets this up and they're like, oh, I'm not quite sure what to put in there. So you don't select anything while they're editing a template. That's one of the benefits of using an HIT template is we've already done that for you. And I won't put any blank recommendations in there. All right. But if you've got one personally that you've modified and you don't have a recommendation, I really, really encourage you to go through there, get something plugged in there. So we do the assessment and we generate the list, and then you have the option. Do you hit that plus sign? Do you put it up on the roadmap or do you not? Okay. Now this is just one of the internal processes that you and your team need to work out. If it's a priority, and this is something that can be done with anybody doing this. If you got an engineer filling out this report, or if you're doing it, anybody involved in your team, as long as they're looking at that report, anybody can hit that plus sign and put it on the roadmap. Conversely, you can take those projects once they're on the roadmap, hit the X over the next of them, and it'll pull off the roadmap, but they'll stay down in the assessment findings. So,
do you need me to share my screen, or do you want to share your screen and show this?
Yeah, let me get over to let's see. I've been in the new portal, so let me see if I can switch over right quick.
I've got like 30 tabs on the new portal open.
Yeah, that's mine as well. Oh, come on, it's not going to.
Well, Skip's looking at this. One of the things I'm working on right now for the new portal is when new features come out, we want to make sure that the new portal gets them at the same time. But some of the features won't apply to both portals, so we're also reorganizing a bunch of things to make them simpler for everybody who is excited about the new dark themes and the new content. But that also means that we're spending an exorbitant amount of time in the new portal, making it really clean and nice.
All right. Let's see, Adam. It says you're sharing for some reason.
Oh,
I don't see that
stop
anywhere.
my share then.
Huh. Well.
All right, there you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that worked. All right. So back to our good friend Joe's truck. So this is where I was talking about here. I mean, this plus sign, it's a small little feature there, but this is really an important process that you should discuss with your team if you have several people doing these reports, or if you're doing them all yourself, if you're kind of running lead on this whole process. You need to understand the value of hitting this or not hitting this plus sign here. And the value is if you hit this plus sign, then this immediately jumps up to our recommendations roadmap. Okay. And so now we have the ability to track these up here. And there's a couple of trains of thought here. One, you can put everything on this and create kind of a lengthy and detailed list of project recommendations. And the value here is you can put a lot of things on here and push them out into possibly years into the future, and creates a very long-term roadmap. So that's one of the value propositions, I would say, of putting more items on this list rather than fewer. Now, to flip it over and give you the other side of that coin, there is a value in putting very few items on this list, and that is that you allow yourself and your clients to stay really focused on what's important. So right now I have this proposal configured for just 3 projects, all right? So this enable work from home features, mobile device management, and activate the new accounts receivable system are 3 really, really important things that Joe's Trucks wants to get accomplished in the near future. So that's all I'm putting on the roadmap because that's all we want to focus on. All right. I don't want that line item on there about multi-factor authentication because we can't do that until the upgrade to the new software. We can't get to the new software until we implement the new AR systems. There's no sense in having this on the roadmap to talk about right now. All right. So feeding off of some experiences here. So some of you might be able to relate to these. So, I lean a little bit more towards a leaner roadmap than a heavier roadmap in having conversations with client, because I want to stay focused on what's going on. And even within this one, this is an older report template, and I apologize, but you guys will notice that I don't have the little grabber dots here aren't showing up in this report for some reason. I think if I switch over to all, when I go to all, they come back. So odd report. But anyway, having the ability to, drag these things around on your proposal or your roadmap is an extreme value as well. So I would encourage you guys to, work out your processes, whether it's with your team or just for you individually, and, see the value of making sure, number one, that you do have defined recommendations for each future state that you select along the way. All right. And you can get in there and I realize, you can set multiple recommendations for each line item. All right. So one of them, let's see, without diving into, so I wasn't going to do too many details, but I guess I am. So here, this is one. All right. So Office 365. All right. This is, quickly becoming the standard for most things. So we want to get our clients out on this one. But for that occasional client that it doesn't make sense and they still need an on-premise Exchange server, we can actually define another project over here if we want. All right. Now, for simplicity's sake, we've got the same project defined here in all of these scenarios. But you can get in here and get really detailed if you've got one or two of these assessments that you want to flesh out, and this is an area that you're going to develop for your business, and say, hey, this recommendation here is going to say implement Office 365 or implement Exchange on-prem. All right, so you can have a separate project there to track that. But back to my very point, have something here. Don't leave this blank. Okay, you don't want this to lose the impact, because once you complete this, all right, if we actually go through, if we had this set up and it was time to get this done, and we could say yes, we're good, all right, and we click future state here, our scores are changing, all right. So in our scenario, and I'm walking through this, if we're going to say, hey, we implemented this project, oops, I've got to do it this way. Here we go. If we implemented this project, then the score changes. All right? Don't break the association between the score and the projects. There's a lot of value there in being able to continue to show your clients what you're doing for them. That kind of answers that age-old question of, what have you done for me? Why am I still paying you? Do I still need a managed service provider? Yes, yes, yes. To all of those. And this is one of the tools you can use to show that. So generate the recommendation, get it on the roadmap, then have those meaningful discussions about that. And I think that leads us into the very next deal is, so now we've got things on that roadmap. Now we're having some great discussions about it. Adam, why don't you kind of show us what the proposal option looks like? Because I think this is a great next step in the feature set here.
And I think Bob also has a next level recommendation. He was going to inform us of. I'll let him do it in chat or send it to you. So what we have is what Skip said. The idea is to make a simpler conversation. Yes, you have this roadmap, and for me, I like to make the roadmap go out a ways. So if you've got an annual strategic session that you're talking through with them, like, hey, here's what we're going to do in 2021. Here's what we're going to do in 2022. Here's 2023. Here's the big projects. So you can look at your project roadmap here, and you can click this out. So, if I move over to my year mode, you see I've gone out 3 years. This Keep Bad Guys Out project is going to continue on these 3 years. We're going to get a 3-year license for this, and we're going to have it go. But we're going to implement it this year, and then we're going to do something next year and something the year after. And we want to make sure that we have those on there. But having those simpler conversations, we're like, hey, this is all we're doing this year. Don't worry about it. But it fits into what we're doing over the next 3 years. Have that plan. Simplify what you're selling by only showing them what we need to do today. And by doing that, you get better buy-in. When your client thinks, oh my gosh, I have to do all these things. Even your engineers are going to say, I want to do this 100 things because we want to make this environment perfect. And what is the saying my kids always do? Practice makes perfect. No, practice makes better. And so we're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for continuous improvement over time. So when you have this big long list after your architecture audit or your infrastructure audit, you're going to want to go through and say, where do we start? So you start with something simple. You start with a simple view of where you want the client to go. So I'll flip over to and the way you do that is with proposals. So let's say you have a infrastructure audit, or I'm going to move over to the roadmap section. This is where I like to look at things. Once you've audited with your infrastructure audit, this will already start populating. So if you look under your client and you see project roadmap, for those of you not using this right now, this is a great way to have team meetings in the mornings to say what's coming up this week that we need to work on, who's got what ball, and being able to track it over here if you want. But this is a great way to look at it. And then also, before you go in on a QBR and you want to make a recommendation, you can come through here and assign values to these projects that are coming up. And you can say, create new proposal. And in the proposal, you just select the projects that you want to bring out to the client. Now I've already created a proposal, so it's like some of these I can't put in. Better support. Oh, this is attached. Work at home laptops. Nope, that's part of another proposal. That's part of another project we're doing with the clients. I can select Office 365. And if I haven't added a value to it, it just comes in as 0. So maybe this is something that's just free for them to do, or like, hey, we're going to make sure we prioritize your calls as part of that new package or something. But you can also add a value to this. So it's a really simple thing. So one of the example proposals I've made over here, I can come in and I can edit and I can say, hey, this proposal is all based around the concept that my client wanted to work from home. And it wasn't a good experience this past 6 months working from home. There were a lot of complaints from people. They can't wait to get back on site, but it's going to be another 4 months. What do they do? And so what I did was I created a little project for them. And I messed up the pricing here when I was talking to somebody else. But you can see that we're going to increase the reliability of Zoom streaming. Oh, no, I made that the wrong price. So I come back over to my project roadmap. Increase reliability of Zoom pricing. What that really is we're going to upgrade their firewalls and we're going to upgrade their ISP. So we're upgrading their ISP to 300 megs or 500 megs. It's an extra $150 a month or $100 a month. And then we're going to upgrade their firewall. The lease on that's an extra 200 months. So 300 a month total. So $3,600 in total for that. So we're increasing their bandwidth and getting them a firewall that can handle the increased bandwidth. So then I come back to my proposal and I can see that the pricing is updated over here. So as you're changing the roadmap, the proposal changes over here. And then you can just send them this one project, this one proposal that says, hey, all these things go together. So for $7,200, we can fix this thing. We can improve the laptops with some remote software on them. We can do an asset inventory. So we're tracking all these work at home assets. We're going to send their monitors home with them, mice, keyboard, and we're going to keep track of that inventory for you. We're going to improve the amount of bandwidth available so you guys can have a better VPN. And we're going to go ahead and add in an IPS module. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it so that you don't have to think about the security. It's just going to happen and our security team is going to monitor for you. So for $7,200, $7,300, we're going to have everything done for you so that you can work from home.
Now,
and it's just off of one infrastructure audit.
And just a side note here, this is not meant to replace QuoteWorks or Proposal or whatever you're going to do. This is more of a way to facilitate those legal pad, big chief tablet, number 2 pencil discussions that you're having with your client. We're still going to need a generated quote. We're still going to have something with part numbers and cost and a back end, margin calculations. We're not disrupting that altogether. This, again, remember our goals is to have better conversations with our clients. And that's exactly what this tool does. I mean, your clients don't need the detailed report and early on in the conversation. They don't need to see a list of part numbers and SKUs. It just doesn't matter. So let's break this down to the conversation points.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about this new feature.
You can use this. If you're a small shop doesn't have a really great quoting software, I do recommend you get a decent quoting software to manage inventory so that you can it'll make your money back. But if you don't, you can use this to share out the quote and get some approval. So when you share it to the client, it doesn't look the best right now, but man, for those of you who want to just do a quick e-signature for approval on the spot, you're in the middle of a meeting and you want to send this over to them, they send their initials, email, and they send it back to you. That's a soft approval. And then you can go back to your desk and you can go through the big process of getting all the parts put out and the standard proposal for, okay, you know what? Now we have to talk about what kind of firewall we're getting them. What did you quote them? And then George over in networking says, oh yeah, I quoted out a 200E, and then this is what it is. So all this stuff that is,
if you can't get them to, if you can't get them to sign off on this level, there's no sense in wasting all the time and effort to put in a full quote. So get this, as an approval to proceed with getting a hard quote over to them. I think this will simplify your sales process. They're going to say, hey, yeah, give me the quote. And then when the quote shows up, as long as it's, pretty close to what you guys talk about, you're going to have a really, really good chance of getting them to sign off on that one as well. This just is I feel, a better conversational approach to discussing these projects and closing these gaps.
Yeah, and we have a variety of people on this call from like multiple sizes of businesses here. And then people who listen later on, you guys know what we're talking about here when we say there are many ways to skin a cat. And you guys have seen them all. And so what this allows you to do is right mid-conversation, put together a proposal like, oh, well, you want to get that. They're really excited about something in the meeting. You're having a great conversation and you want to just put together something quick. Well, let me put that together. And you can drop down like, oh, you wanted to get that remote email going with Office 365. Let's get a quote out for that right now. You're gonna need some anti-malware, and you come back into your roadmap. You put some numbers on it, and then you can send it off to them. Give me a soft approval, and I will go back and I will work on this with the engineers. And so you can immediately kick on that great conversation and feed off of it to get this project going. And we all know that's how things work. Is the client sometimes will say for bigger projects like, I need a few days to sit on this. I'm like, okay. But if it's something that they really want, they're very excited for in the middle of the meeting, they're just going to want to go for it. They're going to want to give you a soft approval. Give me an official quote over for that. Now that they can see it, and then you can get to work. And here it is. And then when you come into your team meetings every month, you do like a kickoff of, okay, what's due this week? What's due this week? Or in your QBRs with your clients, hey, what are we going to do this quarter? And you can show them all the client things that are happening this quarter. That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things we had planned to do this quarter. Maybe they were projects. Now you can create a quick quote, get buy-in, move forward, and send the bill. That is how this works. And this is a brand new feature in MSPL. It just came out Monday. So I'm still kind of getting down the features, because what used to be is I would show them the projects coming up this quarter and say, hey, are we still good with these projects this quarter? And they'd say, yeah, we are. Okay, let me get the bill over to you. Let me get the quote over to you. And they would sign off on it, and we would get to work on them. Or in my case, I would work with the vendors and say, hey, we're a go for getting the website built this quarter. We're a go for getting the new communication system in. Let's get going. And then they needed to deploy those 16 laptops before April. Done. That's how I work. So your monthly meetings or your quarterly meetings get filled up really quickly, because now you have something in front of you during your QBRs that you're talking through. So if you actually want to use the template that we have, or if you have your own template, I like to just go into the roadmap. But if you go into the strategic report, like the strategic QBR, I like in particular going down to about here, so they can see where their maturity is while I'm talking to them about this next quarter's projects. So there'd be like, I may not call out up here, but I might say while I'm down here, like we're doing these projects here, and they're immediately being reminded by looking at this bar graph up here of why they're doing these projects.
Yes.
You don't have to explain it to them. It's right up there in the header. So that's why I love this view in the background. So I'm sitting there, I got my projector up on the screen, and we're sitting in the conference room. We're sitting over a Zoom session, and this is behind me. So I'm looking like this. And the client's like, hey, I want to make sure we get this work at home situation going. I want to make sure that we're inventorying that software for you guys. All of this is coming along, and they're seeing behind me that, oh man, we're going to increase these things over this year.
Now, Adam, why don't you go ahead and refresh that the report that you're looking at there. Hopefully I haven't jumped too far ahead on you. So you sent that proposal out to someone, and they've gone through and they've filled it out and said, yeah, that looks good. And so now for those items that we sent the proposal out, we've got it's preprinted approved there on those. And I think that's, again, that's a really good way for us to keep track of what the client said. Yeah, this is good. Let's move forward with this. Let's get this rolling. So some good additional integrations and workflows in there.
Yeah. Again, this is all part of talking to your client in the QBR. So if you're using my meeting schedule or the meeting schedule for HIT, here's your meeting schedule for that's the annual. Here's the meeting schedule for the quarterly. So you're sitting in here and you're talking about what went well last quarter, and then we talk about next quarter. You pull up that roadmap, and if they're really interested in something or you need to get buy-in on something, send the proposal over. And then when you go back and you talk to your team about what's coming up, when you go to your team, usually we look at the roadmap here for this client. And we say, team, here's what's going on. Oh, this got approved. It looks like they've sent us back a soft approval on that. Let's go ahead and start fleshing that out and getting it on the calendar. And then you can work on calendar plans. Make sure you're calling your client and seeing when these need to be done. So we moved them over to a planned, and we're ready to go. And that's how you move along that four-part process. So those you do not see our meeting from last week where we talked about the four-part process about taking something from discovery to validated. Watch last week's session where we explain it in depth. This is part of that. So this is the part of the planning phase. When are we going to do it? Scheduling, making sure the client has buy-in, and then moving it in and watching. And then so when you come into your team and you explain like what's going on here, and then Bob says, hey, I got that firewall installed. We're good. And I go, hey, let me go follow up with the client, make sure everything's okay. Hey, client, is everything going well with that new firewall? Are you seeing the new speeds? Do you feel like things are better? Oh man, we feel like things are so much better. Like things that we're able to save files faster. We're having much better meetings. We're not getting as many dropped calls, blah, blah, blah. And great. And you come in here and you finish out the project. We're done. Next time you have a team meeting, you sit down and you go, hey, the client was really happy with the way the firewall install got done, but we need to work on these next projects coming up. So you see how this communication cycle is working. And this just becomes normal for every client you have. As the engineers are doing their job, you're doing your job, you're making a lot more money because the client understands what's going on. And I've gotten feedback even just this week from some of you members where because of the simplified process, you're having a lot more elevator conversations with your clients and you're getting better feedback from them. So you're finding out that maybe they weren't happy about how something went, and you have time to talk about that now because you're not explaining to them the value of a 200E FortiGate firewall. You're not sitting down and explaining to them what Active Directory in the cloud does. You're simply telling them, we're going to do this thing. It's going to cost you an extra $375 a month, and that's it. And here's the problem it's going to solve for you. And that's the beauty of having a simple roadmap and project proposal process.
There you go.
Anything to add there, Skip?
No, I think this is, this is some cool features, kind of the evolution of the tool. I like these. As these come up, though, I always want us to keep in mind that we're not trying to, create a bunch of checklists or, this is not more cogs in the machinery. These are tools to help us drive better conversations. So anytime you see a proposal like this, just keep in mind, that's how you make the most of it. How do you put this in so that it makes your conversations better? If you're looking for something that will make your margin calculations more accurate, this is not it. All right. So, keep our eye on the prize sort of here. The goal is to have better business conversations with our clients. So this is a great tool in helping facilitate that.
Yeah. And to make it a little bit tropey, better conversations mean better sales.
There you
go. Adding these in, this should not be something new you're doing so much as it should be a quicker way to do what you're already doing.
Yep.
So that you have more time to talk to them about the emotional side of this, to talk to them about how this will help their business. So you're spending less time on the technical specifics and more time on here's how this is going to help your business and here's how you approve it so we can get started. Who doesn't want to do that? If you do this, your employees will work better from home, guaranteed, and we can get this started within the next week. All you have to do is approve the project. That becomes much simpler. Now, how does that fit in with everything else we're doing? You can see that there's about 1,000 other things we need to do, but this is the one thing your client needs to worry about right now, and everything will stack together like Legos over time. You will evolve over time, but right now we just need you to focus on this one project.
There you go.
And there you go. Project proposals, better conversations, better results, and all this off of one audit. Imagine if you had all 3 audits done.
Yep. And again, I think I've mentioned this before, but this is really the beauty of taking these in a very non-threatening, aggressive sort of way. Just do the audits, and put them out there. And, for me, someone who's really not a very good salesman, I really, really like these because it's an easy sales tool. All I got to do is the audits. I do the audits, it immediately starts putting them on there. And then all I have to do is talk about it. And the conversations, as long as they're focused on the business goals for your clients, they will sell themselves. All right. If you get this on there and you're having this conversation about how this would help their business, at some point, the client's going to go, hey, all right, can you give me a quote on this? I really like it. And you're going to be, all of a sudden switching over to the sales role because now your client is asking to buy something and you not trying to sell something. So get these out and build your pipeline. I have learned that from a sales perspective. I've had great opportunities over the years to work with some really great sales professionals, and I understand the value of that pipeline. So, take your clients, begin rolling these projects out. If it's not, something that needs to happen in the next couple of months, push it out there. Maybe it is next year. But we've all seen, the older you get, the more time flies, it seems like. And, it just seems like the next year rolls around. All of a sudden, we're looking at, that point that seemed so far out in the future not long ago, but now we're there and it's fully populated with all these things that need to be done. So just, be a little diligent about that, but get these assessments done, build these project roadmaps, and then just work the roadmap. I mean, it's not high pressure. It's not stuff that has to be done by next Monday. Just start building that roadmap bit by bit.
And as your team grows, as you delegate these out, as you, as an account manager or VCIO, get to know these audits really well, you now go, you know what, who should be doing this? Alice over in infrastructure should be doing these audits.
Yep.
And then you can train like, hey, if you do these audits, it's like printing money, man. Recommend me 3 projects. Give me a good set of deliverables in it, and then I will get on the roadmap. I'll quote it out for them, and when I'm in a meeting with them, I'll say, hey, as many of these things as you can get, I can put them on the calendar, put them in a proposal, and we can get them done today. And so then that process becomes very smooth. So your engineers are making recommendations, your account managers are doing the selling and letting people know like how's it going to help the business, and in the end, you just have this nice, smooth pipeline as you're moving customers through. They're happy, you're happy, you got good validation, and you've got extra cash coming in. And this isn't a pipe dream. This is what we're actually seeing from people implementing this process. Is we're seeing increased sales. We're seeing clients who are unhappy turn around and be happy. We're seeing a lot of really positive feedback around just changing the conversations so that you're not spending all your time on the technical specifics. You're spending your time on the solutions that you're providing, how it's going to help the business, and then they just buy. And it becomes a matter of budget. That's it. And if it's too small of a budget, you move it over to the next quarter. You move it to the next year. Hey, don't worry about that. We can move that to next year.
Yep.
And next year, when you come into the client and you do your QBR, you already have your talking points right there. That's all I have to say about that. You can tell we're kind of fired up about these project proposals. They're just a great way to organize, great way to save time. So Skip improved it. Nice green check mark. I really, really like this look and feel. It's something I felt like it was missing. So for those of you who use the pricing and packaging in the past, it was kind of clunky. It was really hard to use. This is simple. I can create something in the conversation on the fly and I can come back to my engineers going, hey, look, I sold 20,000 in projects. You guys ready to go?
Yep.
All right. And with that, I'm going to call it good for the day. We actually went 40 minutes today. Usually we're around 20. So thank you for everybody for coming. And if you have any questions, always reach out to coaching@virtualc.biz, and Skip or I'll get back to you with any questions.
See y'all.